It all comes down to this. With 19 races done, just one remain here in our inaugural Power V8 Cup Series Championship as we are live from the Middle Georgia Speedway for the championship finale. Hello everyone and welcome back to the last remaining Power V8 Cup Series race of the inaugural season. It has definitely been a long and treacherous tour, as when we kicked off the season in April, many had thought we might not even made it to this point, but here we are at the very final race of the season, and here to be able to crown a V8 Cup Series champion. With there being 8 drivers still in mathematical contention for the championship battle, it's going to be incredibly interesting to see how everything is going to play out with our remaining championship gauntlet contenders. Go ahead and take a look at how the championship gauntlet standings are lining up going into the final race of the season. Just 8 drivers have themselves a mathematical chance at finding the inaugural V8 Cup Series championship. Christian Russell currently leads that charge of the pack, claiming himself a total of 259 points to his name. He will have a 21-point advantage over the likes of Ethan Hayden in the current second place position of the point standings. As you see here, pretty much up our top 3, all race winners, between our top 3 in the point standings, finds a total of 5 race wins. So these guys definitely know how to get it done. And for a lot of them, they're pretty much going to have to win and find themselves in victory lane in order to potentially also find themselves as the V8 Cup Series champion. Seishin Tomioka finds himself in the 3rd spot, just 3 points off of Ethan Hayden, 24 points back off of the points leader as well. Tomioka, one of the drivers that came absolutely out of nowhere, has only been, this I believe will be his 12th or 13th race, has only done about just a little over half of the races, coming in at the 8th race at Phoenix. But nonetheless, Seishin Tomioka has been absolutely on fire and is proving to be one to watch for. He has 24 points back to that championship victory that would be claimed as his. Chris White also just a few points back as well, currently finds himself 28 points back to the good in that 4th place position. Justin Henley, a driver who has won here at this very exact track, his very debut race actually, was here in Middle Georgia and he won it. He's going to have to probably replicate similar success if he wants to find himself as the V8 Cup Series champion, given that he is currently 5th in the standings, 33 points behind of our leader in Christian Russell. And these next 3 drivers that we mentioned are all in the exact same boat. They're all going to need the exact same outcome and the exact same things to happen, except it's all going to need for them individually if they want to be able to have a shot at it. Ruben Gonzalez, Roberto Crown Jr., and Brett Bishop find themselves 37 points back from our championship leader, just inside of that points margin. They're pretty much going to literally need everything to go their way. They are going to need to win this race, lead every single lap, and achieve the fastest lap of the race if they want a shot at being the V8 Cup Series champion. And they'd also need Russell to score next to nothing in points. No more than 2 points could Christian Russell score for these outcomes to become a reality. As for our last 2 drivers, these guys unfortunately have found themselves mathematically eliminated from the championship contention since our last race at Talladega. Just 2 guys that have had absolutely no luck during these championship gauntlet battles. James Fletcher and Owen Scott finding themselves both 50 points over back from the gap of our championship leader. Obviously, only 40 points can be scored. The maximum amount can be scored in a V8 Cup Series race. So even if they were to go out, grand slam this race, lead every single lap, and dominate, they would still find themselves about 10 to 12 points off of our points leader in Christian Russell. So with that being said, Owen Scott, James Fletcher, merely just here to finish the season on a high note and try to build themselves up a little bit of some momentum going into next season. Now that we have taken a look at the gauntlet standings, we're going to go one by one with each of our 8 drivers that have a shot at winning this championship. And it'll start off with the main contender, our leader, and the one that everyone has had their eyes on for the past few weeks, Christian Russell. Finding himself with a 259 points total to his name. He holds a 21-point lead over the likes of Ethan Hayden in that second place position. There is a lot going on the line for Christian Russell coming into this final race. We know that this is more than likely going to be his last V8 Cup Series race ever, along with his team, Robin Hood Racing. Russell announced that a couple weeks ago he was intending on selling the team and has confirmed a buyer and a purchaser of his shop and equipment. And as a result, Christian Russell will be leaving the Power paddock as a whole. We will not be expecting anything from him for the Thunder Light Series for the most part. He is planning on possibly becoming a driver coach for a few up-and-comers in the Thunder Light Series, but in terms of Christian Russell as a driver in the V8 Cup, it's more looking more likely that his time is going to come to an end after this race. Russell going to look to go out on top in his last race here in the V8 Cup Series. He will want to go out as the champion. And there are quite a few ways that Christian Russell can achieve that, so we'll go over all of the potential ways that Russell could win this championship. And just keep in mind too, these factors all take into consideration that none of the other gauntlet drivers would score any points, or at least enough points to really make a factor or be any kind of a threat to the points tallies and scenarios. As for Christian Russell, he would need a minimum of 19 points in order to be able to secure and clinch the championship for himself to make as a whole. He can do that with at minimum a 4th place finish, or at maximum, excuse me. He could also achieve this total by finishing in the 5th position and gaining himself a lap lead at any point during the race. Also could finish as low as 6th and achieve the fastest lap, or could finish as low as 8th if he is able to knock off the most laps led award. It's going to be very difficult for Christian Russell to get up to those positions and do so, considering he's going to be starting deep in the field in that 34th position. It definitely showed Russell did not have a lot of luck, or at least any favorability to this track when we went here earlier this season, as he didn't really have much of a crazy run to anybody's expectance. But still, Christian Russell going to be starting deep in the pack. He is the one in the driver's seat, the one in control, and the one that is going to be your favorite going into the final race of the season and going into our championship battle. Second in the point standings, 21 points back, is the likes of Ethan Hayden, our Daytona winner, the inaugural season opener. Winner Hayden definitely has shown a lot of strength and a lot of flash and potential, but just has not been able to at least get himself any more closer to Christian Russell than that 21-point gap. Hayden's going to need a lot to go his way, especially considering the fact that he is going to be starting second to last in this race. So he's going to have a lot of work to do, and he's going to need a lot to go in his way if he wants to even have a chance at being able to come close to the championship. Obviously, he'll need Christian Russell to not be able to score any points in today's race, and the 19 himself is going to need at minimum of 21 points to be able to secure and win this championship. He's going to need to at most get a 4th place finish and a lap lead possibly in order to secure that spot, or a 2nd place finish outright, would also help that total out. He could finish as low as 3rd as long as Russell doesn't get the points, but still, he's going to need some more to go his way. Could also possibly finish as low as 5th with the fastest lap, or 7th with the most laps led award as well. That would be the main ways that Ethan Hayden could find himself as the Power V8 Cup Series champion. But again, he's going to need an incredible amount to go his way, starting in the very back of the field. And if this race goes anything like our first race here earlier this season, well, it's going to be almost next to impossible for Hayden to get up to the front. But still, nonetheless, never say never. Anything is possible here in the V8 Cup Series, and we'll just see if Ethan Hayden can defy the odds and find himself as our inaugural V8 Cup Series champion. Our driver that is currently third in the point standings right now, one that really came out of nowhere like a bat out of hell towards the middle of the season, Seishin Tomioka. Definitely the least experienced of our championship gauntlet drivers, but you could argue he is one of the most successful, as he is one of 3 drivers to have been able to secure multiple wins in the first V8 Cup Series season. Tomioka made his debut race at the Phoenix Raceway during race 8, but realistically his first race wasn't the next race until Talladega, as his true debut came only about 100 feet, maybe, or less than that. As soon as Tomioka crossed the finish line on the first lap, he got absolutely obliterated and taken out. But ever since then, he has proven that he is a driver to not be messed with and one to be taken seriously, as, well, like we said, in just a little over half of the V8 Cup Series season, he's been able to land himself in the championship gauntlet and secure 2 wins, both at Martinsville and Talladega. Of course, he has been able to hold his own, currently top 3 in the point standings, but will still need a good bit to go his way in order to be the true upset underdog champion of the V8 Cup Series season. Obviously, he will need Christian Russell to not score any points in today's race. He'll also need to find a way to make up that 24-point deficit. He could do that flat out with a second place finish, or could also finish third with the fastest lap, or 5th place finish with the most laps led is what Seishin Tomioka can achieve to become the first V8 Cup Series champion. He will be rolling off a little bit deeper in the field today, starting in the 19th position, I believe. So Tomioka close to the point standings, but still going to have a lot of some work to do, and will need some stuff to go his way if he wants to be able to find himself lifting up that V8 Cup Series trophy. Chris White currently finds himself in the 4th place in the championship standings, 28 points back off of the lead, and a 7-point gap between himself and the drivers in 2nd and 3rd place in the standings. And a lot like the 2nd place driver in the standings, Ethan Hayden, Chris White going to have to start from the very back of the field, as he'll be rolling off 39th for today's race, starting in the 2nd to last row of the field. And, well, a lot like some of these other gauntlet drivers, going to need an incredible amount to go his way if he wants a chance to be able to win that V8 Cup Series trophy. Chris White can do it if he somehow finds a way to flat out win this race, giving himself 30 points to his total. Again, that will be a very, very tall order to ask of, but again, it is possible given everything that has happened over the course of this season. Either that, or if he can still find a way to get up to the front and lead the most laps, he could finish as low as 3rd with the most laps led award, and would still be able to find himself as the V8 Cup Series champion. But that's really it. Those are the main only 2 ways for Chris White that he could find himself as a V8 Cup Series champion. And again, still very much pretty much going to have to go all or nothing in this last event for the season for Chris White, especially considering too this is really going to be all or nothing for him, as it has been confirmed he is not going to be returning to the V8 Cup Series next season. And well, this is more than likely going to be his last race in a power sanctioned event, unless something else comes up and he has a change of heart. Chris White not expected to return to the Vortex Racing camp and any V8 Cup Series team next year. So Chris White going to really have to give it his all in the final race of the season, and possibly the final race of his V8 Cup Series career. Our next driver on up in the standings is Justin Henley. The last driver as well who has more than one possibility realistically to be able to find themselves as a V8 Cup Series champion, but it's only really about 2 ways that Henley could find himself lifting up the V8 Cup Series crown. Obviously, being 33 points back is pretty much a little over the amount that you would secure for the win. So he's going to need to do one of two things. He's going to have to win this race for sure. If Justin Henley wants to be able to lift that VA Cup trophy, he's going to need to find himself in victory lane at the end of this race. It's definitely possible, given the fact, if you remember, he won here in his initial debut start, filling in for Roger James after his injury at Atlanta. And Henley proved to be a short track ace and one to not be messed with, as he also proved to see a lot of success at Martinsville as well, scoring 2 top 5 finishes in both races there, or top 10 finishes, excuse me. But Henley will need to win this race and or do one of two things: either achieve the fastest lap of the race or get the most laps led as well. And of course, he will need Christian Russell to not score any points. So Justin Henley, it's got a lot of work to do. Like we said, rolling off in the 15th position, it's definitely possible. But he's going to need a good bit to go into his favor. Henley, though, definitely one of the gauntlet contenders who will have the least amount of work to do in terms of trying to get through the field and gaining positions to get himself toward the front. There is one other driver, though, besides Henley, who will have even less work slated ahead of him. But still, Justin Henley, 33 points back from the good if he wants to find himself as the VA Cup Series champion. He's going to need to win this race and find a way to score at least one other way of bonus points, whether that be the fastest lap or going out and leading the most laps of the race. And finally, taking a look at the last 3 drivers that all have a mathematical chance of getting into the championship lead at the end of this race. And these 3 drivers, well, as they all have the same exact points to their name, they're all 37 points back from Christian Russell in the points lead. They're all going to need to go out and do the same thing. They're going to need to grand slam this race. They need to achieve the maximum amount of points possible in order to win the VA Cup Series championship. For 2 of these 3 drivers, it's not looking very, very likely. Roberto Crown Jr. and Ruben Gonzalez are both going to be starting in the sub 35th place positions. Crown Jr. starting in 35th itself, and Ruben Gonzalez starting back in the 38th position. These are 2 drivers who also did not have much luck or success here in the very first race of Middle Georgia, and it's obviously showing as their qualifying woes are continuing here. Just honestly, for the most part, these guys, realistically, the qualifying has been the main thing that has been biting them in the ass in terms of this championship gauntlet. A lot of drivers just finding themselves with poor qualifying efforts, and qualifying, just being flat out honest, if they didn't have their top 15 points provisional that guarantees them in the race, a lot of these guys probably would not have made the races with the way that their qualifying efforts were looking. So, you can really attest these points woes to the poor qualifying and the fact that a lot of these guys just didn't really give themselves any chance to even have a shot at scoring a good bit of points. Roberto Crown Jr. and Ruben Gonzalez, their only points hauls, along with Brett Bishop's, have been besides Brett Bishop, for Crown Jr. and Ruben Gonzalez, the only points finish they found in the gauntlet was a 3rd place finish, to both of their credit, both at different tracks obviously, but still. Roberto Crown Jr. was looking to be one of the favorites going into this championship gauntlet. Obviously, he was our regular season championship, and the driver who going into the gauntlet was the points leader. But after Watkins Glen, even after Watkins Glen, Crown Jr. was the leader. But after that, it has just been downhill for him, as I don't believe he's finished in points at all within the past 7 races. So it's going to be really difficult for these 2 if they want to be able to make it up to the front and find themselves as the first VA Cup Series champion. Now, the other of the 3 drivers who find themselves in needing the maximum amount of points possible just to be able to sniff this VA Cup Series championship is Brett Bishop. But he has actually put himself in a position where that could be possible. He'll be rolling off in the third row, starting in the 5th position in today's race, and ultimately Brett Bishop looks to possibly have the best chance at potentially upsetting Christian Russell and just overall being an upset champion. He's going to have to find his way through just 4 cars in order to get to the front of the race. Obviously, he's going to need to also secure the fastest lap of the race and the most laps led, as even if they were able to get the 37 points that they need, they would still lose out on the tiebreaker to Christian Russell due to the fact that Russell has 2 wins on the season. So they're going to need 38 points, and the only way you can achieve that is just by going out and getting all the points possible. So that's what they're going to have to do. Obviously, both Gonzalez, Crown Jr., and Brett Bishop, but Brett Bishop definitely has put himself in the best of positions in order to do so. It was looking very, very close in these last few races of the championship gauntlet that Brett Bishop wouldn't actually be able to make it within, but thanks to his results and his battle at Talladega, getting himself a couple of laps led and finishing himself within a decent points paying position, that has allowed him to at least have a chance at becoming the first V8 Cup Series champion going into the final race of the season. So Brett Bishop going to really need to take advantage of that opportunity, and is going to have to try to do the most with it, as well, you're going to be seeing there is many of ways that this championship can go wrong for him, and there's realistically only one way that it can go right for him. So we'll just have to watch out and see if the 12 of Brett Bishop can truly be there to contend for the race win and ultimately the championship of our first season. With that being said, the season has been recapped and the championship outcomes have been reviewed. So let's go over the starting lineup for today's race going into the final race of the season. We had a total of 54 cars that would enter this race, closing the season out full circle with the same amount that we started this season at Daytona with. It'll be the same amount that we end the season with at Middle Georgia. Obviously, only 42 are able to get in, so that means 12 drivers would go home empty-handed without a shot at participating in the final race of the season. John Ritson, in possibly one of his send-off races as a driver, claims the pole for himself and Good Smile Racing up at the front for the last time this season. Solomon Sheridan also finds himself with a good qualifying run. He will start in 2nd place, going to try to have a much better result than what he had here earlier in the season, getting wrecked out early in the race. So Solomon Sheridan going to try to have himself some good results. Starting in row 2 is going to be Leland Hill as well. Hill has found himself a lot of success in these past few races. He won at Talladega, Martinsville, and was able to get a top 10 finish at Talladega. And he finds himself rolling off in the 3rd position here today. So Leland Hill has absolutely been on fire, found a great way to get himself up to the front, and some amazing momentum in these last few races. Jeff Bolton as well, going to try to end the season on a high note. He'll be rolling off in the 4th position for today. As mentioned earlier, Brett Bishop, starting in the 5th position, needs absolutely everything to go his way, and he's going to need to flat out get to the front and dominate this race, just like himself and a few other contenders, but it looks like Bishop has the best chance of doing so, rolling off in that 5th position. Lining up to the outside of him is JQ Halleck as well in her final race for Jeff Bolton Racing. As it was announced, she'll be moving over to Sinclair Canada Racing starting next season. Row 4 will see the likes of Miles Mashburn and David Dixon. Mashburn was originally announced to be leaving the series with his team following the season, but it appears to have had a little bit of a change of heart. Miles Mashburn now has possibly been rumored of being interested in either finding a V8 Cup Series ride for next season or potentially starting a Thunder Light Series team as well. So Miles Mashburn might not just be done with some power forays just yet. Outside of him will be David Dixon, starting in that 8th position. And rounding out our top 10 is going to be the likes of Mitchell Collins and Cody Goforth. Cody Goforth, another driver who's had a tremendous amount of momentum throughout the past few races. Last 2 races he's finished in the top 3 both times. Both races look to be ones that he could win, but he ultimately would lose out in a pretty heartbreaking fashion in both results. Still, Goforth going to try to end the season on high, rolling off, rounding out the top 10. Just outside the top 10, two part-timers that will be going full-time next year include the likes of Arvin Basic and John McFadden. Obviously, Arvin Basic, a two-time winner in the series, and John McFadden shown a lot of consistency and strength throughout the year. Lining up in the next row, it's going to be Ben Crouch and Michael Canaday. Canaday looking to be Crouch's owner for next season, as Crouch will be moving down to the Thunder Light Series and will be driving for Sinclair Canada Racing. So both those guys will be lining up with each other in the 7th row. Row 8 will find Justin Henley and Josh Moore. Justin Henley, also another driver who will need to find himself in victory lane if he wants to be able to have a shot at the V8 Cup Series Championship. And Josh Moore just trying to round out what will most likely be his final Power Series race. As well, one of the few drivers we had mentioned that will most likely not be returning to the Power sanctioning body next year. Another pair of part-timers, two Toyotas, and Daniel Smith and Weston Roper will make up row 9. And rounding out the top 20, it's going to be Seishin Tomioka and Zachary Fitzwater Sr. Tomioka, again, another driver looking at the championship point standings. He's going to need about 24 points, going to have to really get up to the front if they want a shot at winning the championship. Just outside of the top 20 includes the likes of Roger James, who will most likely be his last race as a driver, and then Owen Scott as well. Unfortunately, no shot at the championship, just trying to end the season on a high. Row 12 will see last race's winner, Chris Parker, line up on the inside, and Marcus Brown lining up on the outside as well. Both those drivers as well, two part-timers that will be going full-time at the beginning of next season. Then behind them, we'll see the likes of Nick Kennedy and Ricky Freeman Jr. as well. They're lining up in the 13th row. Row 14th, another pair of part-timers, Dale Cole Jr. and Tari Lowell, will make up those spots. And rounding out the top 30 is going to be Adrian Rojas and Zachary DeLello. Just outside the top 30 position is going to be the likes of Dylan Hayden and Ronnie Martin. Then behind them, we'll see Devon Fair and our points leader, Christian Russell. Russell going to try, like we said, has a very healthy gap to the second place driver in Ethan Hayden, and even larger gaps to those behind him. But, you know, if he really wants to be able to clinch this championship and know for a fact he's going to win, he's got a lot of work to do to get himself up to the front. Some more drivers with even more work to do behind him is Roberto Crown Jr. As mentioned before, Crown Jr. needs the Grand Slam this race to have a shot at winning the championship. And lining up to his outside will be Blake Parker. Behind them will be Already Alejo and Ruben Gonzalez. Gonzalez, another driver that will need a Grand Slam to win the championship. And following them, rounding out the top 40, will be Chris White and Nelson Reeves. White, again, also needs a lot to go in his favor. About 28 points back to the good, so he'll need to finish within the top 3 to really have a shot at winning the championship in what will most likely be his last power sanctioned body race as well. And Nelson Reeves rounding out our top 40. And finally, the last two drivers that are going to round out the field are going to include the likes of Ethan Hayden and James Fletcher. Hayden, of course, needs the 21 points to be able to get back up. Really, realistically, he'll need about 22 to be able to secure that points lead, but it's still possible. He's got a tremendous amount of work to get through to do that. And James Fletcher, of course, has no mathematical shot at the championship, just trying to end the season on a high note. So with that being said, as mentioned, 54 cars entered for the 42 spots in this race, meaning 12 drivers would have to go home empty-handed, some of which we do not expect to be returning next season. Including the likes of our DNQs, will include the likes of Myron Felder, Cam Wright Jr., Carl Unterswefer, Christian Vargas, Riley Spurley, Alexander Rowe, Cam Wright Sr., and Adam Wilson. A few of those guys mentioned, Myron Felder, we do not believe is returning next season, and we know that Carl Unterswefer is also not returning next season as well. And Cam Wright Sr. not going to be returning as a driver, of course, going to be stepping back to the ownership role, as his son was trying to make his debut in this race. Will be racing in the Thunder Light Series as well, but unfortunately for Cam Wright Jr., not able to find his way into the field. And our final DNQs of this race will include the likes of Riley Hill, Priya McShane, Landon Lonneback, and Herbert Oakes III. Priya McShane as well, we do not believe has realistically any plans for the V8 Cup Series next season, as Lise could always find herself in a Thunder Lights ride, but I think it would be a real shame if we don't see Priya McShane back on the V8 Cup Series paddock next year, and it's not looking very likely, as there's realistically only about 2 rides that I think are still open with no driver planned going into next season. That being the 4th car at Vortex Racing and the 2nd car that was recently announced at Good Smile Racing. And at least for that Vortex Racing ride, we believe it's between one of the 2 of their part-time drivers. And so for that Good Smile Racing ride, that may be the only realistic chance of a free agent being able to find themselves in a ride. But still, nonetheless, that is your field for today's season finale. All right, for one last time here this season, we're going to go set for the command for the championship finale here at Middle Georgia.
Drivers, start your engines!
All right, with the engines being fired up and ready to go, time to take a quick look at our track facts for today's race. 125 laps going to be the distance here at Middle Georgia. Pretty cool day with it being 73 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind just coming in from 5 miles per hour from the southeast direction. No fuel window is expected, just like this first race. It was a shootout style event, so more than likely going to be looking the same. Take a very quick look at our gauntlet contenders here. Brett Bishop going to be starting the highest of the bunch in 5th, with Ethan Hayden starting the lowest of them in the 41st position. Technically, James Fletcher starting the lowest of them in 42nd, but Ethan Hayden still has a chance to win this championship. Pace car comes in field to the restart zone, and we are green flag racing for the final time here in Middle Georgia. Brett Bishop already causing destruction and chaos. A huge amount of cars are around as Bishop was trying to get to the front. Many involved, a huge stack up, and that is definitely going to bring out the caution. You already see the pace car out there. Many cars involved. Owen Scott with a tremendous amount of damage. Brett Bishop got absolutely wild on that start there. Tried to go 4 wide to get himself to the lead. He knows that his chances are very urgent and do or die, but right now that was definitely not the move to make. Caution going to be out here on lap 1. For sure, one of the more wilder starts that we have seen all season long. Gonna take a look here at the very start to see where this goes. You see the field immediately going 3, almost 4 wide. Miles Mashburn actually does take him 4 wide into the corner. Brett Bishop going to have to be forced up high, pinches the 10 and 54 of Solomon Sheridan up the track. And you see here just more chaos, more carnage ahead, many cars getting involved. Station Tomioka getting himself a pretty heavy piece of that action, and you see here Owen Scott's luck continues to go from bad to worse as he once again finds himself with an incredibly damaged race car. As they say in racing, you can't win the race on the first lap, but you sure as hell can lose it. As you see here, though, didn't seem like you told any of these guys up in the front. Brett Bishop immediately dove to the inside, trying to get to that 2nd spot. He knows that his championship hopes are absolutely, do or die. And as a result, it causes a huge collision and stack up between the majority of the field. Many cars find themselves involved in this one. Another angle of the wild start here. Everyone going to try to get the jump. In terms of John Ritson and Solomon Sheridan. Ritson gets himself off to a pretty good start, but he's just going to see here 4 wide at Middle Georgia typically doesn't work very well. And as a result, Bishop, one of the championship contenders, trying to make a bold and early move, going to end up causing a gigantic incident between many of cars. Go on board with Brett Bishop for the start here. See exactly what he got from his angle. And oh man, that's just going to cause a huge stack up. Lots of chaos and carnage. Take one more more look here at this initial start that is going to bring out a huge wreck and ultimately the first caution of the day here for our championship finale. As you see here, the top 5 all trying to go 4 wide amongst each other, and it just does not work out. It's going to cause a huge incident between the majority of the field. Caution is out for the first time here today at Middle Georgia. Many drivers involved in this one.
Pablo Rebazar makes $28 million a year. Dwayne Aller makes $35 million a year. You make $10 an hour. Failure this deep calls for a deep, slow-brewed beer. Lager, the official beer of American baseball. These guys are at the top of their game. You're at the bottom. Relive your glory days. Have a lager.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Middle Georgia Speedway for our championship finale. We are under caution due to the Lap 1 incident. A huge wreck that saw the top 5 try to go 4 wide for the second position. And this wreck will include the likes of Ben Crouch, the 7th of Ricky Freeman Jr., Solomon Sheridan, Brett Bishop, one of our gauntlet contenders, Owen Scott, got himself a tremendous amount of damage in this one. He is going to actually be out of the race as a result to this incident. Other drivers involved going to include the likes of David Dixon, who got caught up in that pretty heavily. We saw Weston Roper, Seishin Tomioka, Leland Hill caught up in this one. He got a good chunk of it as well, as he got put in the wall very heavily. Saw some other guys. Zachary DeLello got a good piece of this one, unfortunately. Daniel Smith, John McFadden, and the 92 of Ronnie Martin all involved in this one. You're going to see, you look into the inside here, Ruben Gonzalez, Ben Crouch, and Roger James all going to get caught a lap down as a result of this incident. Definitely not the start Ruben Gonzalez need. And as mentioned, Owen Scott going to be the only driver that is going to have to retire due to this incident. The championship gauntlet has just absolutely not been kind to Owen Scott. He unfortunately will finish the season with another DNF. We're going to see here now how interesting it'll be. Ruben Gonzalez trying to fight for the championship. Justin Henley has somehow got himself into the top 5 already, and he's going to try to get himself up even further. Green flag, back out here in Middle Georgia, 3 wide between some of the lappers. Ben Crouch making a gigantic leap to that inside line, as you are seeing here. And he's facing some pressure now from Miles Mashburn. Mashburn now going to get to the inside of John Ritson thanks to the lap traffic. Gonzalez gets himself ahead of the lead lap cars, and Miles Mashburn going to lead himself a lap here coming down to the final race of the season. Mashburn, though, trying to get back onto the 17. Mashburn didn't even get to the line there just yet. Ritson doing a great job holding his own. As you're seeing here now, 2 of our gauntlet contenders to the inside. Justin Henley actually going to clip his own team owner, Roger James, trying to get him out of his way, because Henley could get up to the front and try to get to those leaders. You're seeing both of our gauntlet contenders here, Brett Bishop and Justin Henley, in the 3rd and 4th position. Meanwhile, though, Mashburn has finally got himself cleared of the 17 of John Ritson, and Justin Henley now going to do the exact same. Brett Bishop facing some pressure from Mitchell Collins, now trying to get around. Remember, he needs an absolute grand slam, while Justin Henley needs all but one of the Grand Slam contents in order to be able to get himself this championship lead. But right now, Henley moving himself up to the front into the 2nd position, trying to get himself through the pack here and up to Miles Mashburn. Mashburn, though, has been getting a really good gap between himself and Henley. About a second separates them. But remember, Henley has been able to come back from deficits just like this in the first race earlier in the season. Meanwhile, though, Brett Bishop facing a tremendous amount of pressure. He is falling through the pack quite a bit thanks to being on that high line, and this is exactly what the 12 car did not need, as the Vortex Racing owner really struggling right now to hold his own on the high side with the rest of the pack. But Justin Henley now has his sights set on the 72 of Miles Mashburn, and he knows not only is the race lead ahead of him right there, but also the championship is ahead of him. Right now, Justin Henley trying to reel back in the 72 of Miles Mashburn. Looking throughout the pack right now, Mitchell Collins up to third, and JQ Halleck in fourth. John Ritson has fallen down to the fifth position, and meanwhile, it looks like Brett Bishop continuing to lose more and more spots. He's really got to get himself to that inside line. He's going to fall outside of the top 10 here at this point, fallen to 11th thanks to Arvin Basic fighting on that inside line with him, and it's just continuing to get worse and worse for him. Meanwhile, though, Justin Henley is starting to reel in the 72 of Miles Mashburn. This is going to be incredibly close as we're seeing Mashburn catch up to some of the lap traffic. I think that's helping out Henley quite a bit here. And, well, I'm just amazed how quickly Henley was able to get through the field. Obviously, there was a gigantic wreck to help him out, but still, nonetheless, Justin Henley absolutely ripping through the field right now, and he is a man on a mission. This is his stomping ground. This is where he does best, and Henley has reeled in the 72 of Mashburn very quickly. Wastes no time to move him up the track, and now he's going to go for the lead. Justin Henley now going to be your new leader, and he is setting his eyes on chasing that championship. Henley now to the lead, right now currently holding a 32 points to his name, just 1 point off of Christian Russell on the championship lead. Henley now has to go ahead and make quick work of these lap cars, as he either has to do now one of two things, either set the fastest lap of the race or lead the most laps of the race. And right now, Henley actually has set the fastest lap of the race, so currently he does sit as your points leader and championship leader right now. Justin Henley currently has the championship lead. Right now, we need to see where Christian Russell is, and he is all the way in the back of the field right now. It is not looking good for the 39, as, well, what he did not need to happen is happening right now. Justin Henley up at the front and is absolutely in control right now. Still, though, Miles Mashburn hanging on to what he can, still trying to keep him within a reach. As you're seeing here for Ruben Gonzalez, this has been a bad race gone to worse, a lot like how most of these gauntlet races have gone for him. But nonetheless, Ruben Gonzalez trying to hang on, because what he needs right now is what Justin Henley is achieving. That's the position Gonzalez needs to be in, and realistically, many of these other drivers. Take a look at Brett Bishop, who's fallen all the way back to the 15th position. Bishop only holding 1 point to his name right now. Absolutely the start that Brett Bishop did not need to see. As right now, Justin Henley has made his way through Ben Crouch and will put him another lap, or Crouch will go back a lap down, excuse me. Miles Mashburn trying to reel in the 75 of Justin Henley, but oh my goodness. As it currently sits right now, Justin Henley is your championship leader. He is trying to defy all of the odds, and at a track where he was able to come in and win at his very first race, he's looking to do the same here in the final race of the season. What a crazy upset it would be if Justin Henley was able to secure himself the championship in walk-off fashion, especially considering, remember, he was not here for the first two races of the season. Originally was planned to be a part-time driver for Elite Forces Racing, a substitute for Roger James after his injury, and now a championship contender and leader. But Miles Mashburn, though, saying, hang on, I'm not done with you just yet. I want to get back to that lead. I don't care if you're going for the championship. So right now it is looking to be a very good battle between the 75 and the 72, as they are giving it their all right now, trying to do everything that they can. Take a look throughout the field again. Mitchell Collins currently in that second place position. John Ritson been able to get himself back up a spot, moving up to the fourth position on JQ Halleck. Josh Warren will most likely be his final race up at that third spot. Cody Goforth getting himself another great top 10 run. So is Zachary Fitzwater. Both Fitzwater and Goforth have done tremendously well in the second half of the season, absolutely turning around their woes. They were both at 1 point sub 30th place finish spots in the point standings, and now all four Fitzwater Australia racing cars were actually indeed locked in and guaranteed to this race, and you're seeing two of them in the top 10 here. So absolutely amazing to see Fitzwater Australia, how much they've been able to turn around their program. But nonetheless, right now, still Coming up to a little bit about of a fifth of the way through this race, Justin Henley out in front and in control, doing everything he needs to do. Henley may be looking to get that Grand Slam, actually. That would be one hell of a statement win in this race, as he currently still hangs on to the fastest lap of the race right now. Justin Henley is absolutely doing everything he needs to do. He stormed his way up to the front. Remember, he started in 15th. He's made his way all the way up to the front in the course of just about 30 laps. And he's absolutely killing it right now. Still a lot of time left in this race. Anything can happen. As we're going to take a look throughout the field. Rounding out our top 10 currently is John McFadden, trying to chase down the 59 is Zachary Fitzwater. You're seeing Cody Goforth make a move on Josh Moore for that 6th position. Arvin Basic might try to find himself in that plot as well. Basic in his last race for Good Smile Racing, of course, it's already been confirmed. He is one of the first drivers to announce he'd be moving over to JC Motorsports next season, what will be a true full-time spot. Basic did attempt every single race this season, but across 3 different teams. So hopefully, and he was still, besides that, able to get 2 victories to his name. So we'll see what he can do, just being at one stable and secure team location. Meanwhile, though, Justin Henley trying to lap the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez. Gonzalez, all of his championship hopes right now, they continue to crumble lap by lap, especially with this guy continuing to fill up his rear view mirror more and more lap by lap, as Justin Henley out in front and in control, doing everything he needs to do to stay ahead of the competition. So right now we're seeing Henley just continuing to put a good gap between himself in that 72 car. A look throughout the field, a lot of gauntlet contenders here in the back. Seishin Tomioka, Roberto Crown Jr., and most importantly, Christian Russell, right now having absolutely terrible days. And they need anything else to go right for them. Currently right now in 33rd, 34th, and 32nd. Look throughout some more contenders here. Ethan Hayden also having a terrible time. Chris White on the struggle bus as well, and Brett Bishop continuing to lose more and more positions. Bishop has found himself outside of the points paying spots. He was looking to be the upset driver. He wanted to be the one to secure the Grand Slam. He needed to be the one to do that, but it's not looking like it right now. Justin Henley continuing to be that guy up at the front, as he's really looking to get underneath the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez. He's saying, all right, how much longer can you stay ahead of me? I get you're a gauntlet contender. I get you're trying to hang on for any little bit of dear life, but this championship is mine. I know that's what Justin Henley is saying to himself right now, as, yeah, still holding on to that fastest lap. He's definitely led the most laps at this point right now, and, well, Justin Henley is currently looking to be your championship leader. Absolutely crazy scenes and results. It was looking like a championship that Christian Russell would have more than likely had locked in the bag, but Justin Henley proving to be the upset right now, trying to go from 5th to 1st in the span of one race in terms of the point standings. He's out in front in the driver's seat where he wants to be as the field approaching on the lapper of Leland Hill. Hill had to come down pit road to repair some damages on one of the green flag stops, but not appearing to be one of those drivers that has to keep coming on and off of pit road. They've at least gotten that car competently repaired enough to where it can stay out. Not going to be very fast, but it's still out there in competition, at least. Leland Hill trying to end that season. What was looking to be a high note for him, it is not going to be so much of one anymore, as here comes Justin Henley now finally getting underneath the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez. But hang on, just not yet. Here comes Miles Mashburn now, able to reel back in the 75 of Justin Henley. Henley being stuck behind some of the lap traffic, and here comes Miles Mashburn now, going to put the nose to the inside of him. Mashburn now trying to go back to the lead on Justin Henley. Henley able to get the run off on the corner on the outside, just barely going to hang on, but Mashburn going to come back once again. Now side by side down the backstretch. Mashburn trying to spoil the championship plans of Justin Henley, and is looking to find himself a win in the last race of the season. Remember, Henley cannot finish second. He's got to finish in first, and he's got to find a way to get back around the 72 Miles Mashburn. I think he's just trying to save some of those tires. As this is good news for Christian Russell, as now thanks to that, that will put Justin Henley back down just a few points off of the points lead. Henley will still get the most laps led and the fastest lap, but I don't think that would be enough. That'll put him, I believe it'll put him at a tie right now. But that wouldn't be enough for Henley to secure the championship lead, as Miles Mashburn now starting to put a little bit of a distance between himself and Henley. This is not what Justin Henley was needing to see. But here comes Henley now, though, still not going to give up just yet, not going to let himself go down without a fight. Right now, though, Henley trying to get himself back within line, back within the 72 of Miles Mashburn, as Justin Henley doing everything in his power to try to move the 72 out of the way. Some good racing between our two leaders. Henley looking on the top line, trying to find some different lanes. Ruben Gonzalez has done an amazing job in terms of just staying on the lead lap. I will give him some good credit. He is fighting for his life. As obviously he's still mathematically possible, but lap by lap it gets more and more unlikely. And it's going to get to the point here where it's there'll be a point in the race where Gonzalez will get eliminated. But here comes Justin Henley trying to get a good run back on the 72 of Mashburn. I think he's going to try to use that lap traffic to his advantage, possibly use one of those cars as a pick, and see if he can get on back by the 72 of Miles Mashburn. Henley looking to possibly save up some of the tires. He's starting to back off just a little bit as Mashburn gets closer and closer to that lap traffic. Henley doesn't want to put himself in a position that he does not want to be in. He wants Mashburn to be in that unfavorable position. So we could be seeing Justin Henley playing a little bit of some strategy here and just saving up, scrubbing up some of them tires, getting them prepared to fight off around some of this lap traffic, and eventually Miles Mashburn if he's able to catch back up to him. But Mashburn actually starting to kind of hold his own, keeping up a pretty decent pack gap between himself and Justin Henley. But once Mashburn gets that traffic, that's where Henley's just able to reel him back in. And I think that's what Henley is realizing. He's got to be able to use this lap traffic to his advantage. But he's got to get through it quick as well, because, well, 72 has cleared the 21 of Roberto Crown and now is trying to make easy work of the 26. Henley using the bumper to move Roberto Crown out of the way. And now Justin Henley going to finally be able to get underneath the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. That's definitely going to also Crown Jr., another one of those gauntlet drivers whose chances keep slipping and slipping away at him each and every single lap he watches go by. As right now Miles Mashburn trying to find a good way around the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez. Gonzalez has been one of the more difficult cars to pass here on this lap cycle. But right now Miles Mashburn out ahead and in front, leading this race and will most likely be his final V8 Cup Series race. And Justin Henley trying to get back up to the front and get that championship lead back in his grasp. He can't let Miles Mashburn continue to lead more and more laps, because that's just going to take away the fastest lap award from himself, or the most laps award, excuse me. Still hanging on to that fastest lap by quite a bit, and I think that will most likely be his to the end of the race, considering we do not expect there to be any pit stops from these drivers. It's just a straight shot to the finish. So you're seeing right here now Justin Henley trying to make his way underneath Ruben Gonzalez. Miles Mashburn was finally able to get past the 26. Mashburn trying to get around the 65 of Adrian Rojas as well, just trying to navigate his way through this lap traffic and put as much separation between himself and Justin Henley. Mashburn starting to close in on the most laps led award as well himself. He's got to be careful with a lot of these lappers ahead of them though. Ronnie Martin heavily damaged, just kind of battling for experience. And some other guys as well, Blake Parker, Nelson Reeves, trying to make their way and fight to stay on the lead lap. These guys are racing very hard with each other, very close too. Justin Henley now finally looking to the inside of Ruben Gonzalez. Might try to set himself up a move to get around Miles Mashburn. Is Mashburn looking to be stuck on that high side? Here comes Justin Henley. He's got to really dive it in there. Mashburn finally able to get back to the low side. But we'll see if Henley can get a good run, maybe make a good lunge or dive into the corner. Henley going to enter a little bit higher than Mashburn in that corner. Going to try to make easy work of Nelson Reeves, as Mashburn going to do the same on Adrian Rojas. Henley cannot let Mashburn get to more and more cars, as that just keeps putting more and more separation between himself and the leader. As right now, though, the gap is stabilizing at least from second to third. Mitchell Collins has just been running his own. Another driver looking to be one of his last, if not the last, V8 Cup Series race for him. As Mitchell Collins has no plans for next season, trying to do what he can in the Double or Nothing Motorsports camp. Meanwhile, though, Adrian Rojas trying to get his lap back on Mashburn. Henley's trying to go to the inside of Mashburn, but he's got Ruben Gonzalez to his inside there as well. Gonzalez being an absolute nuisance to Justin Henley. Both of our leaders stuck on the high side with the lap traffic. Can Justin Henley find his way around the 72 miles Mashburn? I think at this point he's more than likely going to lose the most laps led award if he can't get by. Now Nelson Reeves trying to get back by around as well. These two stuck on the high side, the line you absolutely do not want to be on. As Miles Mashburn doing everything he can to try to get back into line. At this point, he's just going to have to let Adrian Rojas go. Probably going to even have to let Ruben Gonzalez go, as well as both of two of the 4 Fitzwater Australia racing cars being absolute nuisances to our leaders. And this has actually allowed Mitchell Collins and John Ritson to find their way back up to Justin Henley, maybe even our leaders as well, as you're seeing here now, the top 4 all within each other as well, right under a blanket. Mashburn still stuck on that high side. Can that allow Justin Henley to get the position he needs? Maybe not. Mitchell Collins looking to the inside. Not going to be able to get that position there, though. Here comes Justin Henley. Can he make the move in this corner? He's going to dive to the inside. Nelson Reeves still holding that track position, still hugging that inside line. Henley now going to get right to the rear bumper of Mashburn. Henley now looking to the lead. Side-by-side racing for the lead. Justin Henley trying to go back on the 72 miles Mashburn, and he's got it. Henley back to the lead, and Henley back to the championship lead. What a race we are seeing here so far, as Justin Henley fighting for his championship hopes, and Miles Mashburn just fighting to get a win in his final race of the season. So is Mitchell Collins trying to do the same, even John Ritson as well. A lot of these guys within our top 5, top 10, looking at some of their final V8 Cup Series races as a whole. So they're looking to get everything that they can in this one. And here comes Mitchell Collins now, moving the 02 to the second place position. Henley's got to be really, really careful though, navigating his way through the lap traffic. He saw how much it messed up Miles Mashburn. He's got to be very mindful to not make the same mistakes, especially with this 02 car charging ahead right on the coattails of him. Look at Mitchell Collins go. He's been absolutely saving up his equipment. Collins now might have a shot at potentially spoiling this championship party. He's going to look to the inside, uses the bumper on Henley, moves him up a little bit, almost hooks to 75. You've got to be kidding me. Mitchell Collins almost spun out the 75 of Justin Henley. Backed off there very smartly, but oh my goodness, that could have been absolutely terrible for the 75 of Justin Henley. That probably would have started the biggest brawl I think we would have ever seen in V8 Cup Series history. Henley almost went around in chaotic and tragic fashion. Nonetheless, though, did an amazing job to save it, and now has gone around the 76 of Nelson Reeves. So is Mitchell Collins, though, going to look to try to make easy work of the 76. And amidst all of this, Ruben Gonzalez still somehow staying on the lead lap, doing an absolutely great job fighting for his lap life. But right now, though, Henley trying to stay in control of this one. The championship is in his hands right now, as obviously the 39 of Christian Russell, nowhere to be found near the points. So all Christian Russell can hope for is if one of these two drivers, Mitchell Collins, Miles Mashburn, somebody chases them down and catches up to them. A good battle between some of these other drivers from about 5th to 8th. You see in here Fitzwater going on JQ Halleck, Josh Moore going on Arvin Basic, and John Ritson as well, 2 of the Good Smile Racing cars stuck on that high side where they do not want to be. And then another battle going on between these 3 right outside the top 10. Brett Bishop's been able to make his way up through a couple of spots, but it's looking incredibly unlikely that his championship hopes are going to become true, as I believe he's actually lost out on the shot at getting the most laps led, or is going to come close to losing out on that chance. So as the laps go by and more drivers, their championship hopes are going to be eliminated, especially if this guy is up here at the front for all of them. Fastest lap award still belonging to Justin Henley as well as we continue on. Henley looking to win it all right here with a possible Grand Slam. getting all the points he possibly can and winning both the final race of the season and the championship. That is the goal, that is the hope, and that is what Justin Henley is planning on doing. He's got to make quick work of these lappers here. Gets around the 07 of Blake Parker. Parker may be a little bit of some trouble for the 02 of Mitchell Collins. Yes, he will. Parker not going to be cleared just yet. Still stuck in that high line though. Miles Mashburn trying to make his way around this lap traffic as well, trying to get through the likes of Nelson Reeves and some of the others. As here comes, whoa, Miles Mashburn actually going to dive it into the inside of Mitchell Collins here for that second place position. Absolutely just throws it in there as we are coming up to 50 laps to go in this race. Next time by, that is when we will see it. And while it still may seem like we have a lot of time left in this race, we absolutely do not. The time is ticking down, the laps are ticking down, and Justin Henley right now has put himself in the position back where he needs to be. He's got to be able to hang on, as Miles Mashburn has been on the charge, so is Mitchell Collins as well. These two guys will more than likely be the biggest factors in potentially upsetting the 75. We've had ourselves a very clean race throughout the majority of the way ever since our first caution, and that would definitely be something that would shake up the entirety of this race if we were to potentially get a caution at some point here. Whoa, Mitchell Collins gets forced way up high on the track. I'm not really too sure what happened there, but the lappers seeming to be giving a hard time for Mitchell Collins, as now the gap is starting to really increase between these drivers now. A second separates the likes of Mashburn to Henley, and from Mashburn to Collins, as now Henley just putting his foot down and keeping his eyes on the prize, that championship. As the closest gauntlet driver to him is Brett Bishop, and Bishop kind of going up and down throughout the pack, still continuing to gain and lose positions. Bishop not having the race that he needed, and ultimately as a result, I don't believe he's going to have a shot at the championship much longer. So right now, Miles Mashburn trying to find his way around the 07 of Blake Parker. Gets down there deep with the nose, trying to get to the inside of the Parker Enterprises Chevy and team owner. And Mashburn going to be able to do so, trying to make quick work of that 72 car. Henley coming back around this 54 Leland Hill to lap him once again. And then the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez also has been on the main sight lines of Justin Henley and has really been the one that has led him through all of this lap traffic. Gonzalez somehow been finding a way to keep himself on the lead lap, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that for much longer, as here comes Justin Henley to the inside now, putting more and more separation between himself and Miles Mashburn. Mashburn really losing out on a lot of time here, as most of the field getting themselves single filed out. Fitzwater trying to knock himself on the door of the top 5. We're seeing Josh Moore actually starting to make his way through the field as well. And here comes Fitzy, moving the 17 of John Vincent up the track a little bit here, getting that nose to the inside and getting his car there to the position. Also going to try to make quick work of his own driver, Nelson Reeves. Hopefully Reeves shouldn't be too much of an issue on his team boss, and it doesn't look like he will. Going to be able to easily give him the position, while the other two Good Smile Racing cars right behind in pursuit as well. And another Fitzwater Australia Racing car fighting with JQ Halleck. The Jeff Bolton Racing machine, JBR, also doing pretty well right now. Jeff Bolton himself within the top 15, and JQ Halleck within the top 10 with her farewell race with the team. Obviously not her last race in the VA Cup. As mentioned before, she'll be moving over with Honda and Sinclair Canada Racing starting next season. But nonetheless, this is her last race with the Jeff Bolton Racing team in Ford camp. Henley continues to tack, to just click off the laps lap by lap each time, as Miles Mashburn has more and more lap traffic to try to get himself through. He's gone around the 54 Leland Hill. He's got to get through the 26 of Ruben Gonzalez now, and then find himself to make up about 2 seconds worth of a gap here, as we're seeing a little bit of the battle. Oh, trouble! Tomioka goes around! Seishin Tomioka into the wall. That's going to bring out the caution. Henley going to try to race him back around. Seishin Tomioka just got flat out dumped by the 10 of Solomon Sheridan. Race back to the line. Henley's going to win it. That's absolutely what the 75 did not need to see. He needed this race to continue to go green. And as for the rest of the field, that is what they will love to see, as Seishin Tomioka got absolutely dumped, and his day and championship hopes are more than over. take a replay here, see exactly what happened here. Solomon Sheridan, I'm not sure if this was from just pent-up aggression, just a little bit ahead of the leaders here. Nah, it just looks like the 10, I don't know, he just kind of targeted the 53 and hugs him around. Sensation Tomioka for the wild ride that he did not want or need. Things were not looking very good for Tomioka. He was one of the few drivers who could have needed something other than a Grand Slam to win this championship, but either way, just his hopes were not looking good, especially after that first caution, and well, that pretty much just seals the deal. Unfortunately for Seishin Tomioka, one of the hottest drivers coming out of the V8 Cup paddock, not going to be our upset champion. He and his championship hopes are going to be done for today. Go on board with Sheridan, see exactly how he hooks the 53, just kind of gets in a little too deep, just sends him into the wall. Justin Henley, our leader, is going to get a pretty good view of this incident. 10 car just pretty much goes right into the 53 and just sends him head on into the outside wall. Caution is out for the second time today for the incident involving Solomon Sheridan and Seishin Tomioka. Sheridan just going to get into the back of the 53 and send him right into the outside wall, ending the championship hopes of Tomioka. We'll be right back after these messages.
Adrenaline junkie? Isn't it time you tried Ego Chaser and took things to the limit? Enjoy these sexy shots of extreme sports and base jumping. But we mostly sell energy bars to desperate middle-aged men who haven't played sports for years, but are suddenly obsessed with triathlons. Hey, you could be a super athlete, even though you have an office job and a family you ignore. You don't have time for real friends. You're a warrior. It's an energy bar that's all about you. How big is your Ego Chaser?
All right, everyone, welcome back to Middle Georgia for the championship finale for the V8 Cup Series. Under caution for the second time today due to the incident involving Solomon Sheridan and Seishin Tomioka. Unfortunately for Tomioka, that wreck would end his day, his championship hopes, and everything about it. He's going to be out of this race and will be one of the first to be able to kind of look back and wonder what went wrong, what could have went right, and how to avoid it for the next season. Nonetheless, Justin Henley still in front and in the lead, but will he be able to hang on to it? It's going to be very difficult with the lap traffic to his inside, and many of these drivers lining up with him on the outside lane, trying to fight for their first career win and possibly their last career race. Right now, though, here we go. We're seeing all these lappers get ahead. Mashburn moving to the second place position behind Henley. Mitchell Collins lines up in third, Josh Moore fourth, Fitzwater makes up the top five. Basic in sixth, our pole sitter John Ritson lines up seventh, Cody Goforth eighth, JQ Hellock ninth, and Marcus Brown rounding out our top 10. As far as our gauntlet standings go, looking like the 12 of Brett Bishop appears to be the only other driver potentially within the points right now. Chris White, though, watch out for him, unless I don't believe he's a lap down. He possibly could be making his way through the field a little bit. Nonetheless, though, pace car is in, and all eyes are on Justin Henley. Will he be able to get around the 10 of Solomon Sheridan quickly? We'll find out as the green flag is in the air. Mashburn already looking to the inside of Justin Henley, forcing it 3 wide. Is he going to wreck him? It's not looking like it, but Mashburn, though, with the position 3 wide with the lappers. Whoa, we got trouble in the back here, potentially. Almost 3-4 wide between a lot of these guys. But Mashburn, though, out in front and trying to dive to the lead. He's got it on Justin Henley, fighting with the 10 of Solomon Sheridan. They have to get to the inside, though, now. Here comes Henley, battling it out side by side with Miles Mashburn. Henley cannot get stuck on the high side for long. He has to get to the bottom quickly, and he does. He's going to allow the 72 to get that run in and just try to chase him down. Henley has to get back after the 72 if he wants a shot at winning this championship still. I don't believe he's going to have enough with the second place finish. He's going to specifically need to get up to that first place position. He's not going to let Miles Mashburn get anywhere away from him. He's going to stay as close as possible to that car as he can. As right now, the 75 and the 72. They've been battling it out this entire race, and they are going to continue to do so again, possibly going to battle it out all the way till the very end. Lap traffic, though, not going to look to be too much of a factor, potentially, at least for the next 30-ish laps. It's going to be between Henley and Mashburn. Who can set their sights the fastest? Who can run the best race possible? As we are seeing right now, Mashburn starting to put himself a little bit of a gap between himself and Justin Henley. This is not what Henley needed. This caution absolutely screwed Henley over. Because right now, throughout the front, we're seeing here a lot of these cars still trying to make their way through the lap traffic. Many of our drivers towards the back here. Brett Bishop has found a way up to the front, it is looking like. But again, I don't believe he actually has I don't think he has a shot at the championship, given the fact he will not be able to score the most laps led. So for Bishop, I believe his championship odds are over. For Chris White, however, though, his odds are not out of contention yet, and he has actually found himself in the top 10. Don't count out Chris White either, even though Henley is going to have much more of a points match than him, more than likely. Still, watch out for Chris White, too. He could be a factor in this championship. Meanwhile, though, Justin Henley getting really close to the rear of Miles Mashburn. He's got to make the move, and he's got to make it soon, as even though these guys are pretty close on the amount of laps they've led, they need it all. And here comes Justin Henley now to the inside of Miles Mashburn. Henley now has the positioning that he needs, trying to force Mashburn up the track. He's got him cleared. Henley back to the lead. Mashburn going to try to fight on that high side here, but Justin Henley is fighting for more than just the race win. He's going for the championship as well. Surprisingly, though, Mashburn got a much better run than Henley did coming out of the corner on that high side. Mashburn showing the power of that Robbers Racing Chevy. But still, Henley fighting back hard, trying to keep that inside line, but it's not working. Miles Mashburn holding his own on that high side. Henley, though, using the corners of the car very to his advantage, trying to force Mashburn into a line he does not want to run. Mashburn now finally has to get back into line behind the 75 of Justin Henley. Maybe not just yet. They're still going out side by side. Mashburn looked to try to make a crossover move, and I think he's going to do that here now soon. Trying to fight back on the high side. Miles Mashburn and Justin Henley. These two guys are going at it. Heavyweight, punch for punch. It's going to come down between these two, I believe. As the lap traffic has been too much of a factor for these guys. But watch out. Look at Vortex Racing charging their way through the pack. Brett Bishop leading the charge in third. Chris White making his way up to fourth. Oh! Nelson Reeves goes hard into the wall by Roberto Crown Jr. Green flag is still out. No caution, though. It is looking like Nelson Reeves going to be out of the race from that, but somehow there was no caution. We stay green with less than coming to 20 laps to go. Very, very surprised. Oh, now the caution comes out. Caution is now out. We're going to have to race our way back to the line once more. Justin Henley makes it, and there's an even bigger wreck, and it involves Christian Russell, and Henley gets involved. Oh, my goodness. You have got to be kidding me. The leaders have wrecked. Chris White also heavily involved. My goodness, Christian Russell has flipped over from the looks of it, and Henley has just hit the points lead. You have got to be kidding me. Mashburn, heavy damage as well. He's forced to pit. Chris White is forced to pit. This puts Brett Bishop in the lead of the race. Oh my goodness. Caution is out. We're going to have many a replays to go over. Absolute chaos and calamity here at Middle Georgia coming to the end of the race. Christian Russell going to get clipped by the 01 of Devon Fair, and he's going to actually go up and over. He's going to come back up across the track, hits multiple cars, causes a huge crash across the start-finish line, and Russell comes down on all fours to a complete stop. Then as the leaders are coming by, Russell slides across the track and in the way of the leaders, in the way of our championship leader, Justin Henley. And I don't know how, I don't know if it was intentional, I doubt it, but Christian Russell has found a way to take out two of the biggest threats of his championship lead in this wreck. Another angle of the initial wreck here. Christian Russell had a pretty god-awful day, and it's going to go to worse, but somehow there were some blessings in disguise in this wreck. Takes a bunch of cars out with him, a huge crash all across the start, the straightaway here on the front stretch. And then Henley blowing it down, car slides in front of him. Absolutely nowhere to go for him and Miles Mashburn. And I believe that has somehow, that's just ended Justin Henley's championship hopes. There's no way it doesn't. Another view of the vicious wreck Christian Russell is going to cause in a gigantic stack up. More than likely unintentional, but somehow in this wreck it's going to take out Chris White and Justin Henley. Two of our gauntlet contenders that found themselves in the top 5. Henley was primed to possibly win this race and the championship. That's what he was preparing himself for. And it's all going to come to an end just like that. And then crashing in even more, some of our other cars. Chris White going to get forced behind. He's going to slam into his own team owner, Brett Bishop. And oh my goodness, this absolutely changes everything. I cannot believe it. Our points leader going into this race and the points leader currently at the race, both colliding with each other, and in ways that are more than likely going to possibly end the race or end the championship hopes. Christian Russell goes up and over, the last thing he needed to do, and Justin Henley slams into him and then gets slammed into by the 72 of Miles Mashburn. The luck could not have come at a more worse time for Justin Henley. On board with Tari Lowell, who's going to get a pretty good view and piece of the action. Right ahead of him. Just have absolutely nowhere to go, and then Russell comes to a rest, slides across the track, and then the leaders just crash right into him. On board JQ Halleck, who's going to get an incredible view of this incident. Very good wreck avoidance by the 13.
The Life Invader tablet.
It's time to dock.
The future is now. Life Invader, the social networking site, announces its new tablet. It's not
Technology.
It's your life.
Technology.
Live it the way you want. With a device that tells you what to do.
It's time to dock.
The Life Invader tablet.
Invasion never felt so good.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Middle Georgia Raceway. Under caution for the third time due to the crazy, chaotic, unexpected, just there's no words to describe what just transpired with that wreck. But we can show you all the drivers involved, including the likes of Devon Fair, Ben Crouch, Ricky Freeman Jr., Brett Bishop, Chris White finds himself involved a little bit, Tari Lowell getting himself involved in that, Christian Russell flipping over and over, going to be out of the race, and possibly going to really need some luck to go his way for the championship. Arvin Basic and David Dixon also involved. Marcus Brown involved. Miles Mashburn got caught up in it. And most chaotically, most unexpectedly enough, Justin Henley finds himself out of this race after getting the fastest lap, leading the most laps, looking like the championship was possibly his. It is going to be no more. Justin Henley going to be out of this race. And the 77 is Zachary DeLello as well. With that being said, this now leaves Brett Bishop as our leader of the race, followed by Mitchell Collins, followed by Cody Goforth, Jeff Bolton, and Josh Moore. And watch out for Ethan Hayden. He's found his way somehow amongst the points positions and all the chaos and carnage. He's now looking to knock on the door of the top 10. He may be a threat for this championship gauntlet as well. Remember, he only needs 22 points to be able to win it as the green flag is back in the air. 3, 4 wide all across the lappers. Is this gonna work? I do not think so. Oh, they're racing way too hard with each other, but they're gonna make it work. Brett Bishop now facing a ton of pressure. Still 3, 4 wide all across the pack. More cars go around. There goes Marcus Brown. Cody Goforth slides up the track. They save it. But the caution is going to come out. We'll see if any more chaos and carnage ensues. It does not look like it. They're going to be able to get it woed down. But nonetheless, caution's going to come out. Brett Bishop's still going to be your leader. Ethan Hayden has found his way up to the 5th position now. This race has been getting absolutely crazy. Look at all the cars here right now on top of each other. But as it sits, the 12 of Brett Bishop still going to be your leader. We'll get a quick replay of that incident. Get a replay of the absolutely chaotic start here. We saw 4 wide between many of the lappers, and it somehow worked. But you're going to see the 70 of Marcus Brown and the 60 of Cody Goforth get knocked up the track. They're not going to go around fully, and to be honest, caution probably wasn't really needed to be called at this point, but just for the safety measures and with the craziness of the race, I can understand why the caution was thrown here. Goforth gets into the 70 of Marcus Brown, and then the 3 of Josh Moore gets into him. They're going to go sliding up the track, but they both do a great job at saving their cars and making sure they don't hit anything else along with them. Another look at the restart here. You're going to see Cody Goforth try to make a good move to the inside. Goforth been running very well today, but unfortunately going to have to get reset to the back of the pack as this little mix up here between himself, Marcus Brown, Mitchell Collins, and Josh Moore is going to cause him to get slid up the racetrack after sliding 70 up the track himself. Moore going to get into him and just slide them up the track. Really no damage done to those cars though. They'll still be able to carry on and hopefully try to improve upon the positions they lost. Caution is out once again here in Middle Georgia.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
If you're dumb enough to buy a new car this weekend,
You're a big enough schmuck to come to Big Bill Hell's Cars!
bad deal.
Cars that break down!
Thieves.
If you think you're gonna find a bargain at Big Bill,
You can kiss my ass.
it's our belief that you're such a stupid motherfucker.
You'll fall for this bullshit.
Guaranteed.
If you find a better deal,
Shove it up your ugly ass!
you heard us right.
Shove it up your ugly ass!
Bring your tray.
Bring your title!
Bring your wife.
We'll fuck her!
That's right, we'll fuck your wife.
Because at Big Bill Hell,
You're fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
take a hike
to Big Bill Hell.
home of challenge pissing!
That's right.
Challenge pissing!
How does it work?
If you can piss 6 feet in the air straight up and not get wet,
You get no down payment.
don't wait!
Don't delay.
Don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off!
Only at Big Bill Hell.
The only dealer that tells you to fuck off!
Hurry up, asshole.
This event ends the minute after you write us a check!
And it better not bounce or you're a dead motherfucker.
Go to hell!
Big Bill Hell's Cars.
Baltimore's filthiest!
And exclusive home of the meanest sons of bitches in the state of Maryland.
Guaranteed!
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Middle Georgia Raceway. Under caution for the 4th time due to the minute accident involving the likes of Mitchell Collins, the 3 of Josh Moore, 60 of Cody Goforth, and the 70 of Marcus Brown. All those cars, of course, going to be able to continue on. Moore and Collins actually still within very close reach of our leader, Brett Bishop. As you're seeing here, we're more than likely going to get restarted with just 10 laps to go in this race. It's going to be a crazy shootout to the finish. And again, watch out. Look at where Ethan Hayden is, the number 19, in the 5th position. If he could somehow find a way to either pull some bonus points out or make his way up a couple of spots, Ethan Hayden could very well be your Power V8 Cup Series champion here for the inaugural race. If he can at least just make up 2 more positions and get himself into the top 3, Ethan Hayden could potentially be your inaugural V8 Cup Series champion, looking to upset the likes of Christian Russell and really Justin Henley as well, as Henley was set, dominated, and really primed to win this race. But nonetheless, taking a look at some of our field here, we see Mitchell Collins, Josh Moore, Daniel Smith finding his way up in the top 5, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's not a lap down just yet. Zachary Fitzwater up there running well, Jeff Bolton, John McFadden, James Fletcher started in the very last position, and remember, he doesn't have a shot at winning the championship, but still just out here racing for pride, racing for, you know, a good momentum going into the season next year, and right now he's doing so. But we're going to get set and ready and restarted here. Just about 10 to go. Whole field going to be single file for the rest of the way. Green flag back in the air as we're seeing Ethan Hayden already looking to make the move. So is Zachary Fitzwater. Hayden dives it there into the inside. He needs those positions more than anybody. He's going to get them. Look at Ethan Hayden go. Hayden to the inside now, trying to get the lead of the championship, and he might just very well do so. Ethan Hayden to the 3rd position where he needs to be. And Hayden might just be your new V8 Cup Series champion at the moment. He's still got to hold off the pressure, though, from a lot of these guys behind him. Daniel Smith going to definitely try to have something to say about it, but oh my goodness, what a chaotic and crazy race this has been. Absolutely all over the place in terms of the championship running and standings. Brett Bishop currently your leader, and had he been able to get himself some laps led, could be leading this championship, but not looking to be. He could still win this race and get himself a very good finish in the point standings, but he is mathematically not able to get himself that win. So right now, most all eyes on Ethan Hayden as he's actually trying to chase down that second place position of Mitchell Collins as well. Zachary Fitzwater doing a great job also moving his way up into the top 4 positions. But right now, with the laps winding and winding down, Ethan Hayden right now currently is in the driver's seat to potentially win this championship. Started from second to last in this race and was one of the drivers we least expected to make his way through the field, but he is doing it right now. And Ethan Hayden looking to be the ultimate underdog out of the rest of them. As right now, as we are seeing, Brett Bishop still holding his own, trying to get himself his first win on the season and the second win for Vortex Racing, as there is trouble in the back. We do hear a wreck. Caution is out. This could be the end of the race. Devon Fair up in the wall. And the 10 of Solomon Sheridan also going to get just flat out dumped by Blake Parker. Bishop is going to lead him down, and I'm not sure if we're going to get the remainder of this race restarted or not, with just 5 laps to go. Ethan Hayden currently holds on to that 3rd place position, and I believe with that holds a 1-point lead over the likes of Christian Russell. Absolutely incredible scenes here. We'll go ahead and get a replay of that caution and see if we will get this race restarted or not. Take a look at what's going to bring out the caution for the 5th time today. Looks like Devon Fair might get him into Nick Kennedy and Chris Parker. Yep, Fair clips Kennedy, and Kennedy goes into Parker. Devon Fair gets the worst of it, then slams into the 10 of Solomon Sheridan. That car heavily damaged, and you're going to see Sheridan get dumped by the 07 of Blake Parker. Sheridan started very well in this race in second, but unfortunately not going to end this race very well. Another angle of the incident. Both Owen Scott Racing Dodges going to get caught up in this one, unfortunately. It's been a terrible day for Owen Scott as a whole. As well, he obviously got wrecked out at the very beginning of this race, and well, now the other two of his cars also going to get involved in a wreck at the very end of this race. So that being said, caution going to come out incredibly late here. We're going to see if we're going to have the chance of possibly getting this race restarted or not, or if Brett Bishop is going to lead us under the caution to the end of this race. So, from the looks of it, this race is not going to be able to continue under the green flag. And as long as everything goes right, it is looking like Brett Bishop is going to end up winning the race here. But more importantly, Ethan Hayden, from second to last, has found his way all the way up to the 3rd spot. And with this, I believe, would be enough to give him the V8 Cup Series Championship over the likes of Christian Russell. It would just be by about 1 point, I believe. But right now, as it sits, Ethan Hayden currently holds on to 22 points. And that is enough for the 21-point gap that he was behind on Christian Russell. As you see now here, the 2 to go signal has been given. Take a look throughout some of the field. Some of the other notables, Mitchell Collins up in 2nd, Fitzwater up in 4th, with Josh Moore in the top 5 in his final race. James Fletcher in 6th, followed by John Ritson in 7th, Daniel Smith in 8th, Bolton in 9th, and already Alejo rounding out our top 10. Unfortunately for Brett Bishop, obviously this was the result he needed to try to win the championship, but he needed much more than just the win. He needed the fastest lap and the most laps led as well. And currently Justin Henley is going to hold on to the fastest lap tally, and I believe the most laps led tally as well. So unfortunately for Brett Bishop, not going to be enough. Despite getting the win, despite having the victory, it's not going to be enough for his championship odds. And I believe this man right here, Ethan Hayden, is going to be able to clinch the V8 Cup Series Championship. As long as he can come around for the final time, he should be your new inaugural Power V8 Cup Series champion. I'm not sure if you would have guessed the guy who won at Daytona, our very first race of the season, would have been the champion, but hey, it looks like that is going to be the case here. Ethan Hayden, with the upset of all upsets. There were multiple drivers that looked like they had it in their reach, in their in their vicinity to get this championship and to get this win. But all in all, it looks like Ethan Hayden at the last minute is going to come in and claim it for himself. Coming to the checkered flag, each and every single car still making their way around on pace. We've got Brett Bishop going to be your winner here at Middle Georgia, and Ethan Hayden going to be your champion here at Middle Georgia. An absolutely crazy scenes here, and complete chaos of a race going to end under caution. And as we said, Ethan Hayden going to end up with the crown as your inaugural Power V8 Cup Series champion. Brett Bishop able to at least end the season with a win, getting his first career win and the second win as a whole for Vortex Racing. But unfortunately, it's not enough for Bishop. Ethan Hayden will be your first ever Power V8 Cup Series champion. What an absolute crazy sight to see. All right, with that being said, everything being taken into consideration and all of the finishes now complete, let's take a look at how our final race of the season has gone. Brett Bishop ultimately won the race, but could not win the championship, unfortunately. Still, though, for Bishop, very huge to get himself a win at the very last race of the season and another win for Vortex Racing as a whole. Mitchell Collins finishing up in the runner-up position on what will most likely be his last V8 Cup Series race of the season, right now at the moment. Ethan Hayden, right now as it stands, from what we believe is our V8 Cup Series champion, able to score 22 points and is going to hold a 1-point lead over the likes of Christian Russell. Absolutely crazy, chaotic, and Ethan Hayden made the move of the year in terms of getting down to the restart and making a 3-wide pass. Realistically, it was a 4-wide pass thanks to Zachary Fitzwater, but nonetheless, Ethan Hayden with the balls of steel and able to claim the championship as a result at the very end of the last race. Fitzwater was able to land himself a top 5 to end out the season, and Josh Moore, and also what will be likely his last V8 Cup Series race, rounds it out with a top 5 finish. James Fletcher as well ends the season on a pretty high note, finishing in 6th, followed by John Ritson in 7th, Daniel Smith in the 8th position, and he would actually amazingly be the last car to finish on a lead lap. A lot of cars went a lap down due to some of the chaos under caution. Jeff Bolton finishing in that 9th position, and already Alejo rounding out the top 10. Ronnie Martin would finish in the 11th spot, followed by Weston Roper in 12th. John McFadden comes home 13th, followed by Dylan Hayden in 14th, and Michael Canaday would round out the last final point of the season in that 15th spot. Those finishing on the outside of the points include the likes of Zachary DeLello, Miles Mashburn, Chris White, Ruben Gonzalez, and JQ Halak. Gonzalez never really had a shot at the win, but was up amongst the leaders all day long as a lap car. And the 22, Chris White, tried to get himself up to the front towards the end as well, but unfortunately got caught up in that crazy incident involving the likes of Christian Russell and Justin Henley. Finishing just outside of those top 20 positions include the likes of Adrian Rojas and what will most likely be his final V8 Cup Series race as well. Dale Cole Jr. comes home 22nd, followed by Nick Kennedy in 23rd, Chris Parker in 24th, and Arvin Basic rounding out the top 25. Roberto Crown Jr. finishing in 26th, another driver whose championship hopes just, the whole entire gauntlet, he had a tremendous amount of bad luck and was just not able to make it work. Roberto Crown Jr. going to unfortunately finish the season out very empty-handed, and in the last 7 races of the season failed to score in the points once. Along the likes of them is Cody Goforth in 27th. Goforth ran a very good race, but got caught up in one of the late cautions, late wrecks, and that kind of forced him to go to the back a little bit. Roger James in 28th, followed by Ricky Freeman Jr. in 29th, and Devon Fair rounding out our top 30. Outside of the top 30 positions include the likes of Blake Parker in 31st, followed by Marcus Brown in 32nd. Solomon Sheridan would retire coming to the last laps of the race, but that would still be good enough to put him in 33rd, as David Dixon went 4 laps down due to the damages, along with Tari Lowell finishing 34th and 35th. Ben Crouch went 5 laps down, and Leland Hill would be the last of the remaining cars to be able to run, finishing this race 6 laps down. Everyone from here on out, unfortunately, DNF'd, and quite a few of them involved some gauntlet contenders, mainly Justin Henley and Christian Russell. Russell, going into this race, was our points leader and was the favorite to possibly win the championship, but Justin Henley quickly changed that notion within the first 10 laps, as he was able to make up 15 spots within the first 30 laps of the race, and was more than likely looking to be the driver that was going to dominate and lead his way to the end of this race and possibly win the championship outright along with the race. But unfortunately, that wreck involving Christian Russell, it just kind of didn't really work out. Russell just came down in front of Henley and forced him to slam right into the 75, ending the day and the championship hopes of the 75 team. Finishing just behind them will include the likes of Nelson Reeves, rounding out the top 40. And then finally, the last 2 drivers we'd see out of this race include the likes of Owen Scott and Seishin Tomioka. Tomioka fortunately got dumped by the 10 car of Solomon Sheridan, but realistically never really had much of a chance throughout the entirety of the day, and Owen Scott was never really given a chance, as he just got flat out wrecked in the very first lap of the race. So tough to see for those guys, but at the end of it all, amazingly, Ethan Hayden is your first ever Power V8 Cup Series champion. All right, with that being said, with that race now wrapped up, the season being wrapped up, we will go ahead and take a look at the final point standings from what is sure to be a unforgettable opening season of the Power V8 Cup Series. Ethan Hayden, in upsetting fashion, at the last minute was able to come home with the championship lead, just 1 point over the likes of Christian Russell. An absolutely crazy way for the finish. Hayden making that 3 wide move on the restart is what was able to secure him the championship, and as a result, he is going to be our inaugural V8 Cup Series champion. Christian Russell just coming up 1 point short. He ended up flipping in this race, taking out the driver that was thought to originally upset him in the championship, Justin Henley, but it just looks like things were not meant to be for the 39 of Christian Russell. He was not going to be able to retire from the V8 Cup on top and go out as a winner. He's unfortunately going to have to go out as a runner-up. So, with that being said, Brett Bishop comes home in that 3rd position with his win, moving him 5 points off of the 2nd place spot and 6 points off of 1st. Seishin Tomioka coming home in 4th, and Chris White rounding out the top 5 in points. Justin Henley would finish 6th in what looked like it could possibly be a grand slam and an upset victory for him. Like we said, late in the race, got taken out by Christian Russell, and just things were not meant to be for the 75 team and Elite Forces Racing. James Fletcher comes home 7th with his points result in today's race. Ruben Gonzalez and Roberto Crown Jr. would both be tied for 8th, and Owen Scott would round out those of the gauntlet contenders. A lot of guys, as mentioned, like Gonzalez and Crown Jr., Owen Scott, have had little to no luck in the majority of these gauntlet races, only being able to score, I believe, 4 points finishes between the 3 drivers within the past 8 races. So definitely unfortunate to see for those gauntlet drivers. We'll take a look as well throughout some of the other points positions outside of the gauntlet standings. We're going to take a look at our entire top 50 in the points. Those are going to scroll through. Some nice notables, including Fitzwater Australia Racing as a whole, did absolutely incredible, an incredible turnaround and comeback, getting all 4 of their cars finished in the top 16 in points. Fitzwater himself the highest of those outside of the championship gauntlet. Some other notables, Josh Moore and Already Alejo had themselves some quiet second halves to the seasons, but they were also able to rapidly improve, being one of the couple of drivers one of 4 drivers outside of the gauntlet contenders able to score more than 100 points. A good bit of some notables here. First-time winners, including the likes of Leland Hill, Alexander Rowe, Arvin Basic as well, scored 2 wins on the year. So definitely an interesting batch to see. But a good bit of drivers, coming through towards the later half of the year, really turning their season around and getting themselves a good finish on the year. Some more spots outside of the top 20, including the likes of Priya McShane, Mitchell Collins, who we do not believe will be returning next season. Some others like Ben Crouch as well. Doesn't look like they'll be returning. A couple more race winners in here as well, including the likes of Dylan Hayden, Christian Vargas, and Adam Wilson. And Tari Lowell would end up rounding out our top 30. Another race winner in his own respective as well. A few more spots outside the top 30. We'll just allow the remaining of the points standings to roll on as you can continue and look where your favorite driver is within the top 50 in the final point standings of the Power V8 Cup Series. It's definitely been one hell of a season, as it has been entirely filled of ups and downs, unpredictable moments, plenty of chaos, great racing, amazing finishes, and all in all, an absolute amazing experience to be a part of. We once again would like to say thank you to each and every single one who tuned in to any of the streams or the post-race recordings as well, keeping up with the Power Discord, or just anyone that is a fan of the series. We appreciate all your support and everything that you guys help us out and do for the series, as without you guys, well, we would not be doing this without the support. So once again, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for participating and enjoying the series. It's been a pleasure to make, and in my personal opinion, I did not even imagine we'd be able to get here to the final race, to the finale, but we were able to make it. So once again, thank you to everyone for tuning in and watching all of the races. With that being said, that is our first season wrapped up. It is official. Power V8 Cup Series has made it through the very first season. Be sure to tune in next year when we come back for Season 2. You will not want to miss it when we get back set for Speed Weeks. We'll see you then.